Hey guys, and welcome to the Destiny Council Q&A video. Number 2, I believe.
Hey. What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Basically we just asked our patrons in our Q&A tier for some questions, and they responded, and here we go. So, number 1, we'll start with you, Andrew. What deck at Worlds do you find uniquely challenging to play against, or presented a challenge in a way you weren't anticipating?
Oh gosh. I played against GameSlayer No Brainer, the YouTuber or whatever, and he had like a pretty interesting version of the 5-die hero vehicles list that Joe was running from Hyperloops. And it was actually like a really interesting game because I had no clue as to what to expect. Turn 1 I saw like a, the 2-cost count number of support dice and deal damage flanking maneuver. I was like, oh gosh, what the heck is in this deck? But it ended up going pretty well. Dropped a Force Wave turn 2 and had it cutting out, and then that game kind of ran its course. But it was a fun run overall, and yeah, that was definitely not a deck I really expected to see going into Worlds like a few days previously. And
it's similar. Basically what Andrew said. I mean, I think what we're saying is that we did a lot of testing for Worlds against a very specific list of decks. And when you play against those decks, you basically know like 25 out of 30 cards in their deck, with a good chance that you know the extra 5. And when you go up against a deck where you're just really unfamiliar, there's a lot of like extra thinking involved, in the sense that you're like, alright, I have to think of every card instead of the cards I know that these decks usually run. So there's a lot of extra thought that goes into that.
Yeah, I don't think I faced anything uniquely challenging per se. I faced a lot of meta decks. The weirdest one would have been like Kylo Greedo. So I faced the challenge of having to choose between killing Greedo and risking like his rollout, doing a little bit more early game damage than I could be comfortable with, or going for Kylo as much more health. But I think the most challenging match was probably one of my Yoda Hondo matches that went down to mill win condition. Just because I killed Yoda turn 2, I believe, or start of turn 3, but I had to go through 2 second chances on Hondo. Andy had a lone operative, and it was just a mess, but it came down to me basically resolving a 1,000 discard, hitting his Cunning, which I was pretty sure was his last upgrade, and then playing a probe to mill his remaining 2 cards. So I barely stuck out that victory. He held on forever. I mean, Yoda Hondo can do that sometimes if they get the, easy pickings, entangle, and then rebelling them a couple times, and then playing second chances. It's just so much health to go through at times.
Yeah, I actually ended up cutting Lone Operative in my Yoda Hondo, but it's very, very good in a niche location in the game, and that's like the late game.
The late game.
1 character left, and it's got 2/3 sides, the 2 melee damage side and the 2 discard side.
Like, especially if you're playing against a deck that, especially if you're playing against a list that has already lost a few characters. And like I was down to like Talzin and my Stormtrooper, and he vandalized one of my DH-17s, and I lost my other DH-17 with Baladide. So if your opponent's list is at low damage and it gets to late game, it's like, ooh-wee. But if you could go right back after Legacies was released, what decks do you wish you tested more and tried to make work? I guess maybe even just the Yoda Ezra Rookie Pilot. I actually played that. You can find it in the Destiny Council casual channel. It was one of the vehicle lists I messed around with. Obviously Joe's version was much more unique, running like the guns and stuff. But I think that having Yoda focus, giving you Ezra specials, is really huge, because that means that resolving that Yoda die gives you another 2 resource swing when you flip it to the Ezra special. It's just a really powerful ramp condition. I really like that combination. Obviously, easy pickings and all the different control cards you can run are great there. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, Yoda is fairly similar to 5-die in some ways. Just because, like, similarly to Talzin, you get all your focus set up and can flip to, like, max 10 damage turn 1. It's pretty good.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Legacies had a lot of good characters. and I don't think there was any like characters that I feel like I missed that were. I kind of wish I'd played a bit around with Palpatine. He seems like a really cool character. I don't think he's necessarily up there in the tier, but I kind of still wanted to play around with him. Maybe later on in set 5 he'll become better. I'll get the door.
Alright.
Oh, you know what? How much do you want to bet, guys, that this is Luke? You ready for it?
Luke,
I don't know who else it could be.
Yeah, who else could it be? Like, Will just randomly shows
So,
up.
this is the benefit of
Drives
playing
out
on the
like
Destiny Council, is that not only do we test together, we basically live, like, as next door neighbors.
Luke's gonna have to lay in pillows.
Yeah.
My
Come
food.
last to the party, you don't
need,
get your choice
efficient
of...
food, yeah.
We are totally keeping this in the video.
Yeah.
This is real life Q&A.
No.
Oh, Tim! It's Tim! I forgot about Tim.
It's Tim. What's up, Tim?
Oh,
Welcome to the
hey everybody,
Destiny
say hi. Say,
I lost
you
a
gotta
bet.
say hi to the camera.
Hi, camera.
No, you gotta... Tim. You come over here, look at the camera, and say hi. We're actually recording something.
We are
But,
actually, yeah.
That's cool.
Welcome.
Do you want cupcakes?
Yes, we want cupcakes. And on this episode of the Destiny Council, cupcakes with
Awesome.
Tim.
No chocolate ones. I ate that.
Well, I mean, that's fair. Chocolate is quite good.
I'm eating, but I definitely would like one.
I'm definitely eating a cupcake. So, next question.
We're just answering some questions from
From our Discord.
Is this live or?
No.
No,
Oh,
we're just
okay.
recording it.
That'd
You'll
be
end up,
pretty
don't worry,
good
you'll
for
be
a
in the video though.
Cool.
This is, we'll release 2 versions of the videos. The uncut version and the cut version.
The
I see.
cupcake version.
You edit it to be.
It won't be much
concise.
longer, we only have like 4
Alright, I'm
questions.
gonna go buy brownies after this.
Cool.
So, don't worry. I almost forgot that I said yes. I was like, who's ringing the doorbell?
Oh.
We all bet it was Luke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nope.
Now that you've seen the Feel It Worlds, do you wish you would have run a different deck or made any changes to yours? Brian, start with you.
I mean, honestly, every year, every big event, I almost usually feel the same way. That, like, I chose kind of a risky option, a deck that, you know, leaves room for a lot of error and a lot of bad matchups. And I kind of leave the event always kind of feeling like maybe I should have played a bit safer, played a deck that maybe has, like, one really bad matchup but has a lot of good other matchups, and just hope I don't play that one matchup. But I mean, I can't complain. I went 7-2, got 20th. I mean, do I think I would have done better if I played another list? I don't know. It really depends on matchups, and that's kind of just how this meta was. So.
Yeah, because like I feel like this question you almost have to know the matchups you're gonna play. Like knowing the actual percentage of field, I think like it was pretty comparable to what I expected. It really just depends on who you draw at some point, and like I think if you're playing a really good player who's got a counter matchup, that's just a bad deal. But if like it's an even matchup and they're a really good player, you can gain some advantages by having like secret tech and stuff, and there's like all sorts of other things going on. But yeah, overall I was pretty happy with Yoda Hondo. Hyperspace Jump felt really off because there's so many fast decks in the meta. I felt like typically the damage got down before I was able to jump, so that's like certainly something I could see pulling, but it also won me like 2 key games, so it's like how can you really value that? I mean,
Right.
winning 2 matches versus like, yeah, so.
Yeah, for myself, I don't think I would have changed anything. I'm a huge fan of 5-die. I mean, I tend to be a fanboy of all of my decks for some reason. I just love to like get everybody else to like, guys, look at this deck, play it. It was really hard for me to not like post my list before Worlds. But I don't know, I liked the deck. I liked the advantage it had into all the 3 character lists, even though I avoided all the Hero Vehicles players. I liked that it was, you know, not on people's radars. It would have been really nice to have played it like day 3 and then gone into day 2 and nobody could have even like known that it was coming before you're already at day 2. But I was happy with the deck. As Brian said, you know, it's kind of matchup dependent. What do you hit with most of the decks in the meta? I felt like 5-die had perhaps less free win matchups. I mean, really just the 3 character list, but I felt like it also had less you lose matchups. So I think it's a good choice in that sense. But yeah, is there a format you'd like to see get more traction and be taken seriously by OP? I actually really like the 3v3 format where you all play serious decks. Maybe you make some rules in there about like not having the same unique characters or something. Maybe all villain or all hero or something. But 3 people versus 3 people, you just play 3 individual games, and the team that has 2 wins from those games won the match. It's a really fun way to play Destiny. We had an event like this locally, and it makes it so that when you finish your game, even if you lose, you like immediately start watching your teammates and start rooting for them. And it really keeps you invested in all the matches that are going on around you. Much more so than when you're at a casual event. You play a game, you're done, and then you just kind of walk around watching people. Whereas here, you get to the point where there's that one game left, and it's 1-1, and everybody's cheering for their teammate. It's like, there's a fun team aspect to be had there.
Was it Chris Bates who set up that tournament?
Well, Chris Bates set it up, but I actually played in a 3v3 tournament for a different card game, the World of Warcraft card game I used to play. And we had a huge, basically galactic qualifier / regional event that was 3v3, and it was a huge success. It was so much fun. I mean, like, you hit the nail on the head. It's a very team environment. Everyone's excited, everyone's happy. Like, every game matters. Like, you'll win one game, or your teammate will win a game, and you feel a little bit less pressure on you. You're like, oh, okay. Or you see your teammate loses, and you're like thinking to yourself, man, I'm behind in this game. I can't, gotta turn it around. You actually, sometimes I feel like it changes your line of play from like, I'm playing it safe to a teammate like loses a match. You're like, all right, I gotta take the riskier lines to get back into this game. It's a really awesome thing, and the way they did it also kind of like helped new players. They had like the person in the middle, like be kind of more like the coach, who could help like the players on the left and right. So there was some cool new player aspect there. I just like to see something different in general. Maybe they'd try it out with a galactic qualifier or something.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I personally loved how the team atmosphere just really got boosted. Like, I remember we were playing, and it was like these oh crap moments when like somebody loses, you're just like, oh, like the other people got a 2-0, like let's go. And then you got like, as soon as somebody's game finishes, you have like 4 people like standing around the other people just like cheering them on, and like there's a lot of back and forth, and it like is actually really exciting and fun in general, more so than a normal match in some ways, because not only are you invested in yourself, other people are invested in your game. So even if you wouldn't normally care as much, all of a sudden you're like carrying these other people, or like their hopes are aligned on you. So I really like that aspect of it for sure.
Sounds like we're all pretty much agreed.
Yeah,
3v3, fun format.
If you could have errated or balanced any cards for Worlds, what would you have changed, and any changes that now that you'd like to make?
I don't know if you want to start with this, Andrew.
I mean, there's always like the potential for a ban list or whatever, just like talk about. I think like cards that have seemed over the curve to me. I know like there's a lot of decks that make use of hyperspace jump, like Obi-Mas, Sabine, Ezra, even Yoda Hondo. Like I don't think it's a surprise that those decks were like some of the top decks in the meta at this tournament. I could see like a change to that card potentially. All other cards, like I think RI got hit, so that was obviously one potential. And Maul Saber. I mean, I think they hit kind of like the 2 key like cornerstones of like potential oppression and gosh, like yeah, I mean like you could potentially alter points costs, but I think they saw that that would potentially just mess up the meta a bit too much, or like potentially like center it on a particular set of characters who weren't affected by the nerfs. So I think overall like they did a great job on nerfs. But yeah, like hyperspace jump potentially could see a hit in the future.
Yeah, I think that I was pretty happy with the erratas beforehand.
Oh, Close Assault too, holy mac.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like,
it's not very interactive.
Like you, a ban list, and a couple of cards that I'd like to see on it would be Hyperspace Jump having tested against Obi-Maz and Yoda Hondo almost entirely as like the other choices for people on my team, I hate that card now. It seems a little bit too oppressive now that resources are so easy to generate. And they're just way more faster characters. I also, CQA has always been a dumb card, but the better and better melee decks get, the easier it is to just, roll out and just be like, oh, I rolled all melee, because all the melee upgrades have 50% melee sides. Even just 0 for 2 discard is way above the curve, and it's not hard to roll 2 melee sides.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to like Probe's limited to events. I mean, yeah, you don't require stuff in pool, but the limitation
is really good.
Probe is really nuts good, and there's a limitation.
Yeah.
And there's no limitation for CQA, so yeah, I used to play vehicles, and I literally quit because it was very like hard to want to play a deck where you rely entirely upon your hand, and if you can't play using your hand, like there's no way to win the game. So I played vehicles throughout Empire War, and played it a bit during the start of Legacies, and I was just like, can't deal with CQA.
Yeah, I agree basically with the hyperspace jump and all that you guys said with close quarters. I liked what the changes were before Worlds. The nerf to RI and Maul Saber seemed pretty fair and really good. I kind of used Worlds as like a test to see, will Sabine still be good after the nerf to RI? And the answer was clearly yes. Maybe if they get rid of hyperspace jump, it'll tone it down, but I kind of just feel like we're always just dancing around Sabine, and I honestly would probably like to see either a change to her ability to only get thermals, or just give her a +1. I think she's not fun to play against, and there's a lot of reasons why, and not just because of her. It's the supporting cast of hyperspace jump, running interference still, never tell me the odds, and second chance. And it just feels like a deck that's very solitary, where you're playing one game and your opponent's playing another game. It's not really fun at all. And I don't know, it's one of those decks that also just has a really good counter matchup against the mill, and it was probably the reason why mill decks weren't brought to the tournament. And having one character that just kind of nullifies an archetype, it's pretty rough, especially for those people who like to play that archetype.
Well, these next two, not this next question, but the two after that seem pretty much addressed to myself. So do you guys want to handle this next question? It's
Sure.
Now that Darksaber has been spoiled, who do you think is the best character currently or already spoiled to try to pair with it? And do you think it's appropriately costed, or is it OP?
I'll answer the second question first. I think it's definitely way more powerful than any 4-cost upgrade in the game, by far. You take a look against Vibro Cutlass.
Yeah.
And it makes Vibro Cutlass look really bad, and Vibro Cutlass is playable right now. So yes, I think this card is going to be really strong. I think it's going to see play. It's going to see more play than Vibro Cutlass, and it's going to be really good. Now, maybe you can talk about some of the best characters while I try to think of it.
Sure, yeah. Some of the characters that I would try it on, I guess. I don't think these are guaranteed, but I mean, you have the upcoming Bo-Katan, who's got 2 3 sides on the 2 sides, and I think we saw that 19 to 20 health point characters can be good with Obi-Wan. Maybe having 2 3 sides is enough to make a character like that good. I don't know, but this would definitely be good on a character like that. Maybe even Palpatine from Legacies. Maybe you see some play in Stuff 5, maybe a supporting character at 10, like Ezra. Or maybe, there's more events, so there's just more options for him. Additionally, I could see 15s being super duper good with that. I know playing Hondo, it seems really good on him. Rey is another option if you were finding yellow pairing for her. The upcoming Luke seems pretty decent. What are some other possibilities?
Yeah, I personally think 15-15 is a good place to start with the card.
Yeah.
It lets you kind of feel out the card and also retain value after one of your characters dies. It doesn't lose any value because it goes to a 15. So, I mean, it all depends on what comes out next set. You know, what 15s come out, or if there's a really good 20 or 20 plus character.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously on tap with the card is pretty nuts. So if you got like a leadership or price deck with it, like thinking about that sounds really freaking good because like you roll the 4 focus, you just like guarantee like 12 damage or whatever. So yeah, seems pretty good.
Well, next couple questions. First, we have why no hunting rifle in 5-die villain. So basically, let's take a look at the die. There are two good sides on it. The 1 range side and the 1 resource side. The 2 for 1 range side is pretty bad. The reason being that that 1 resource that I'm paying could have paid for Witch Magic, a backup muscle, a Frighten, all these 1 cost for 3 damage. So I'm giving up 3 damage by using a pay side, typically. It's a Towson deck on top of that, so all of my cards cost a resource. So paying a resource is really bad.
You also had to pay for the hunting rifle. So
right.
It's not like you just paid
2.
1 for 2, it's paying 2 for 2.
But let's compare it to a similar die like Dark Council. And Dark Council has 2 1 focus sides, a resource side. So we'll say the resource side is equivalent to the hunting rifle's resource side. And the 2 1 focus sides are actually both better than the 1 range side on the hunting rifle because the odds of one of your 5 character dice missing damage entirely is really high because there are 5 of them. So that 1 focus is usually 2 damage. Or at the very least, it changes a 1 to a 2 damage side, which is the same as the 1 side. So a die like Dark Council, or even a die like if I were to add a card that's not in there currently, like Crystal Ball, would still deal more damage than Hunting Rifle would, and has more good sides. It has 4 good sides on Dark Council, 3 good sides on the Crystal Ball. The +1 can still be useful because the Talisman Focus can give you the base that you need. The only time where Hunting Rifle is better is when you're down to your last character and you just need raw damage. But that's like putting in a late game card in a deck that is entirely turn 1 and turn 2. And you need that 1-drop that you're paying for on turn 1 and turn 2 to do a lot of work. And Dark Council, Bartering, Crystal Ball, all these other 1-drops that give you focuses and resources are just way better than a die that has a 2 for 1 side on it.
Yeah, so basically you cut it for similar reasons like a Lone Operative from Yoda Hondo, except the payoff on Hunting Rifle is not as high as Lone Operative.
Right. Then this one is definitely addressed to me. Why do you hate white chicks so much? Or for those you don't know, that's Aura Talzin, as Michael and
Buns
Bowie
and
call
guns.
it.
Buns and guns.
Is it just because he didn't come up with it? No, it's not. I don't hate the deck. I just, I'm really confident against the deck. The reason why I don't like it as much is because it feels like a very, another edition of the Janko Veers style. And if you're gonna go all out aggro, I just feel like 5-die is the better version of that deck because you just have more health and more dice to work with. So if you control 1 aura dice, that's controlling, a quarter of your damage dice. Whereas in 5-die, if you control 1 of my dice, it's controlling 1 out of 5 dice. I think the deck is still really good. It can hit really hard. It has a few advantages in speed. The speed of the deck gives it the ability to abuse battlefields. The Talisman Focus does more because an aura die is 3 damage. But getting a whole nother die and what's the difference in HP? Like 5 more HP, I think, is a pretty big deal, especially since I get another color in my deck. So I don't hate white chicks. I just like 5-die more.
Yeah, I'll talk about like the positives of the deck actually, because I personally have some love for the deck. I think it's like a really solid deck against certain decks. It actually craps on like certain matchups. Like it's really quite good into Obi. It's quite good into like Yoda Hondo, which is a good medical. It does decently against Rail at times, although like shields can be an issue. It really depends on if they draw the right stuff at the right time. We definitely had some success with testing in it, and felt like overall it was a strong deck. The reason we ended up not like pursuing it further is because it's very volatile with a 10 health main character. You can lose a game if your opponent like happens to Sabine God roll you or whatever happens. So it's just kind of like a risky deck to play in some ways. It's got like a huge upside, and then like the downside can be like equally swingy, where it's like you go from winning a game to losing it very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I played 3 Aura Thousands in Worlds, which I was not expecting to play 3. That was the most played deck at Worlds in my 9 games. If you asked me what the most popular deck I would have played, it would not have been Aura Thousand. I probably would have said 1 Aura Thousand, but anyways, I went 2-1 against the deck. I lost to Gil, who made top 16, so congratulations to him. And my 3 games against the deck pretty much confirmed the reason why I didn't end up playing it, and that was it's really volatile, as Andrew said, depending on a lot of factors. There's the factor of if you draw fast hands or not early, which is a huge like uppage in win percentage for the deck. I feel like in certain matchups. And then the second one, the biggest reason is that even though you have Towson, you still need to roll pretty well with Aura. And if you don't draw fast hands, there's all these yellow hero decks that can just easy pickings Aura's dice, and that can just like basically blow out your turn because you lose like potentially 6 damage off of her 2 dice. And so the one game that was really easy, not against Michael, just so you know, my opponent's Aura just rolled in like 1 ranged, 1 disrupt, and they pretty much got rolled because they couldn't get better sides like off their fast hands activations. And you know, just having a character where you have to rely on them hitting the right sides early, it's a risky business to play in. It's kind of like playing Sabine, but with less health and no second chance and no hyperspace jump.
Yeah, and just to add to the point of lots of volatility is, for a Towson deck, a lot of the Aura Towson lists actually ran 6 evens, which means, you know, that volatility of what if turn 1 you miss your rolls and flip an even on top with Towson, or if when you Witch Magic you had 2 evens and only heal 1. Yeah, it's just the you know, when you roll hot though, and like the deck does have ways to play around these. It has lots of factors that help it deal with it. So it's still a good deck. It's just a little bit too volatile. And then our last question, which is quite a fun one: are there any characters you hope to see in the next set? I'll start. I really just want a good Mace Windu. Mace Windu is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. He's a total, you know, he whoops everyone's butts until he gets his hand cut off. But R.I.P. Mace. But like the one Mace they printed is like unplayable. You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't that Mace be like, you know, have a 4 for free side or cost like 2 points less? Then it would be fun, you know.
Yeah, that 4 side was the 4. Oh man,
jeez, dude.
Like run that Jedi Temple Guard Mace deck. Just keep Mace alive and whack them. You know, like it'd be so fun. I think, you know, if you made him like 18 elite, so he had like plenty of good pairings. I want or make him be the 28-point hero equivalent to Palpatine. That'd be kind of fun too. I want Mace.
I was gonna say I want them to capitalize on the new Han Solo movie. They did an okay job with the latest movie. Like, what set 4 come out? Like, when did they come out in regard to the set or the movie? Was it after?
Yeah, it was like relatively.
It was like a month after.
Yeah, I mean, and then like the main characters were in the 2-player starter, which came out like a couple months before the movie.
Yeah, that was actually pretty legit. But I guess like Rey and Kylo were already known at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the new movie coming out this month, and then the set coming out, you know, who knows when, I'd like to see them maybe print a new Han, new Chewbacca. I want to see the dynamic duo, like, in play.
Let's go.
Because right now, I mean, Chewie's like, and the Han from the first set is good. The Han from the starters is okay. They're just not really, like, that great. And, like, not... I mean, even Zach Bunn couldn't get Han to make it work at Worlds.
Too, yeah, like, come on. Zach Bunn's a genius.
He's played that deck more than we even want to know. So,
yeah.
Print a new Han, capitalize on the movie.
Yeah. Give Zach Bunn a new Han Ray.
Right.
Let's go.
Even I want to see Han Chewie though. Let's be real.
Alright, we'll try and get him to change his ship. Yeah, I'd like to see Jyn Erso, because, like, I was so hyped for Jyn Erso in Spirit of Rebellion, and then I realized she was garbage here, and now I've just been waiting, like, over a year, and I'm like, Cassian's here, let's
coming
go.
with Cassian.
Cassian,
Finally,
come on,
right?
doing Jyn in the set too.
It's a little bit,
I believe.
It's a little behind Cassian.
Cassian's like, what, 3 sets later?
Yeah.
Rest in
So, maybe there's a new Jyn?
Yeah, he can pair with Jyn technically, like at that 10-point Cassian, 20-point Jyn. I know I'm gonna play that deck at least once, so yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks for watching our video. If you wanna, have your questions featured on these videos, we have a Patron tier. It's called Q&A. But basically, we'll answer any of your questions within a reasonable time period that you ask in the Discord, and then every once in a while we'll do these videos. So it's not just the videos, it's also a channel where you can ask us about your deck lists and stuff like that, or what do you do in this matchup, whatever it may be, and we'll do our best to respond. But yeah, thanks for
guys.
watching.
No, please.